All right, guys. So this is an experiment. I don't know if we're gonna be, doing live streams very often or how it's all gonna work. But the idea is that I want to try and bring this type of content into my channel because it's something new, a different way to interact with everyone, and to try and just get an understanding of, how all of this is going to work. So, I have made a couple of games on the App Store, and nothing fancy, just little number games. So the one that I've currently been working on, as you know, is Shapes and Numbers, and I want to try and make another game, but something maybe a little bit more advanced. I've always wanted to do bigger games. I wanted to make like a deck builder style game, or even like a small like RPG style game. But I know that these types of games have been, and probably still are, outside of my comfort zone as a developer, programmer, whatever you want to say, because I've only been doing this a couple of years, and I don't really know everything there is to know. And on top of that, uh, Sprite Kit isn't really made for that type of content, right? It's like Sprite Kit's made for these light games, and sure, I probably can do a better job than what I'm doing, but it's all part of the learning process. So anyway, today I wanted to just take out my iPad and kind of work with people who are watching, and if anyone's out there, you can leave comments on the chat and help me through this. This is the first stream I've ever really done, so confidence boosts always welcome. Thank you very much. Anyway, I'm gonna get started, and we'll just kind of jot down some things, some ideas for what could possibly be the next game that I make with Sprite Kit on my iPad using Swift Playgrounds. So let me dive over into this view here. I'll pull this off. We're going to be using my iPad and the Apple Pencil to kind of just jot down some stuff, because I feel like, for me anyway, that's how I work best. Is just to draw things out and kind of plan the process. So for a new game, I do want to try getting back to for my note taking. Right now I'm using an app called Good Notes. I go back and forth between that and just regular Apple Notes, but it's all that I have kind of this productivity addiction where I try and find the next best thing. So this is Good Notes, and it works really well with the Apple Pencil, so I can just draw my ideas out, and when I need a new sheet, just pull down, get a new sheet. I think it works really well. So really what I'm going to do is just kind of draw out some ideas. So like, I tend to like the just drawing out like rectangles for my screen and kind of getting an idea of what I want to put in there. I've tried before making games where I have like a deck of cards at the bottom, and then the player would have to choose between what card they want to play, drop it into the game board, and then that would do something. Maybe it could be like tower defense style, where enemies come from the top or from the side, and you're doing something with the effects that those cards have. Now, I've always run into issues with this because card games are notoriously difficult to write code for. There's a lot of different components and a lot of balancing that needs to be done, and interactions between the different um, elements in the game between enemies and cards and the player's choice and everything like that gets really, really complicated. But it's something that I've tried and failed at a number of times. So I'm going to attempt to do that again. It's just a matter of how far I can get with it. And I think if, people that are watching this channel can help point me in various directions for resources, that might help guide the experience and my learning along the way. The other style of game that I've wanted to do, and this is kind of a shout out to my wife because she loves these style of games, is the standard, match 3, right? So you match 3 squares, you get points, basically like Candy Crush. We all know what that is like. So that's another idea for a game. I think even though I love to do, an RPG style game, those are just too big for learning. I think you have to have a lot of experience to do those. So yeah, it's really, really difficult to do that type of stuff, especially I think it would be even more difficult in Swift Playgrounds just because of some of the limitations that you have to deal with in terms of using the content view of Swift UI to house your game. And yes, this is Good Notes, and I'm probably in dark mode, so that's probably why it's a little bit darker than what you're used to. But yeah, Good Notes it's a great app. I really like it quite a lot. So anyway, those are kind of the two options that I have, and now it's just a matter of trying to design those things, so, and kind of build the theme around it. Now, match 3 is probably the easier option just because there's a lot of tutorials out there on how to do like a Candy Crush clone, and I think it's like my intuition tells me it's a lower barrier to entry in terms of what needs to be done just from a logic point of view, right? Because you just can match shapes or numbers or colors, and those things can easily be stored in your data and then compared to against. I still want to tackle this card game at some point. It's in my head, and trying to get it out into the world is the thing that takes, a really tough is a really tough hurdle to kind of overcome. I don't know, what it would take to get there, but I think it just keep pushing, keep developing, and keep moving, and eventually I'll be able to get there. It's just keep doing what I can do. So there's one other game that I started in SpriteKit, and honestly, I think it would have to be SpriteKit because I need to do it with an entity component system. I may even go back to Unity for this because I think it's a really fun game idea, and I really want to try and build it. It's just a matter of how much experience I need. But if you remember back at the very beginning of this channel back in September of last year, I was making a game called Replicator. And now this game is something that it's been just weeding away in my brain because I think it's a really cool concept where you have kind of a game board, and you have like to manage, these represent like maybe food for your kind of entity, whatever the player is creating, and then the player might create like little like structures or houses that would be like the home base for these things, and these things would produce these little like whatever repli is what I'm calling them in the game, and they would have needs associated with them. So they might need to have food, or they might need to go and get uh, rest from their house, or other things that might need to happen. Maybe they have interaction with some uh, other entities in the game, and those things would all kind of be the gameplay kind of core hook would be that the player would have to be managing all of these different resources. So it's kind of like think of it like a resource management game where you have a population that you have to manage, and you have to make sure you're providing them enough food, and if you don't, then they might start kind of attacking each other, or going out and failing to come back home because they're starving or whatever, right? So the idea is that, and then with different actions that take place in the game, maybe you end up spreading, like, obviously this idea came to me because of the pandemic and everything, but the idea would be like, maybe there's gameplay elements where, like, if you're not optimally performing your actions as the player, you might introduce like viruses that spread throughout your population that then could wipe out your population, and you would have to then kind of figure out ways to mitigate that spread. And it's a cool idea for a game, and I think I have a very basic understanding of how to build it. It's just going to take a lot of time, and I don't know, maybe Sprite Kit and isn't the place for it. Maybe I would need to go to something more powerful for a game like that, something like Unity or Unreal Engine, or maybe one of the other more. There's tons of other game engines out there. It's just like Sprite Kit, as you know, watching this channel, if you're using Sprite Kit, it's not the most robust platform. Yes, it can do a very good job at these light games, but there are better options out there if you have the skill and the know-how, and you're able to kind of learn another platform. I just like Sprite Kit because, well, it's simple, it's easy. I don't need to worry about all the different types of screen sizes and the compatibility across Android and iOS and other stuff. Yeah, it does sound a lot like kind of a mashup between Sims, Oregon Trail. That's kind of like what it is. Essentially like a very low low graphics. Like the art style of this game would be very minimal, I think. Like, I'm talking like shapes, maybe some colors. A lot of color theory would be involved, where like different types of colors produce other colors and stuff like that. So there would be a lot of that type of stuff, and not the I'm not an artist. I'm not gonna be able to do these things that are gonna go very visually, but it's gonna be, I hope it would be very visually appealing on like a minimalist scale. That would be kind of the art style around it. And yeah, it would be kind of a mashup of those kinds of games, and SimCity, maybe a little bit of a what's that game, Civilization type of stuff. Yeah, all those things would be kind of involved, and I hope it would be a fun game to build, but it's definitely it's orders of magnitude bigger than anything I've currently built, and so I don't know, it's years away if it ever gets done, because I'm just learning. But I'd love to, if I have the time and the experience, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be attempted from time and time again. Anyway, so those are kind of the three options I have for my next game. I think in the order of easiness to most difficult, it's the match 3 style game would be like the easiest solution, and that would be maybe pretty straightforward. I think there's plenty of tutorials that I could kind of base the core idea off of and learn from, and then kind of make it my own. This is like my learning style, right? I try and find something on the internet that works for what I need, and then as I develop my own understanding of what's being done, I can take it to the next level with my own spin on it. So the match 3, that's probably the easiest solution, and then after that would be maybe the card game, or maybe there's something in between those two that would be better. I know one of the low hanging fruit that I haven't even attempted is the standard platformer, right? The 2D platformers are everywhere. They're very common, and there's tons and tons of tutorials. You can get Udemy courses just to build a 2D platformer on SpriteKit, and you can build an entire game. You're probably gonna through the course you might build the first couple of levels, and then once you understand how to build level 1 and level 2, it's just up to your imagination to build the rest of the game, because all the core mechanics are there. So it's getting that first kind of gameplay loop down, and then you can expand upon it. So yeah, if I had to put it, it's probably match 3, and then maybe a platformer type of game, and then if I want to get more ambitious, it would be either the card game or this idea of like a population resource simulation. I don't know, these are going to be really long projects. I think even the match 3 is probably bigger than shapes and numbers, because shapes and numbers, you're just matching a number and a shape, and it's just the player interacting with a specific element, and it has nothing to do with like the world around it. So there's a lot more programming that needs to be done to just handle like all the match possibilities, and potential for more error and stuff like that. But that's kind of the idea that I have and what I want to go forward with. On top of that, as far as this channel goes, I guess we'll kind of wrap up the stream with kind of a future of what this channel is going to be. I really like Swift Playgrounds. I want to keep making that type of content, so that's why I'm looking for like the next game, right? Because shapes and numbers is kind of done. I'm gonna work on it as I showed this week. I brought it into Xcode, and I'm gonna try and build it out more, just because I like the idea of shapes and numbers, and I have a vision for what the final product will look like. So I'm gonna try and build that out, and at the same time I'm gonna build another game using Swift Playgrounds, because I know people really like Swift Playgrounds, and I want to bring awareness to it. I think it's an awesome platform. It's in its infancy as far as I'm concerned, and I have a feeling Apple will bring this more functionality in the future. They just need to get around to developing the idea behind programming using your iPad, right? They have these very powerful tablets, and with all the accessories that you could need. You have your pencil, a keyboard. You can even use mouse input now. So all of these things are going to be things that enable you to use your tablet to make games in the future. It's just a matter of how long it will take, right? So Swift Playgrounds, I want to get ahead of this curve. I want to try and use that as the lever to kind of build this channel and be like kind of the core content. And then I'll also use Xcode and SpriteKit and stuff like that to build more powerful and more robust games, and kind of showing the connection between Swift Playgrounds and Xcode. And then finally, I really want to try and build an AR app. That is a long-term project of mine, but I know Apple has some really cool stuff with, I think they call it Reality Kit. And you can do some really cool things. I just saw at WWDC with iOS 16 that they have, I think they're calling it room scale or room kit or something like this, where you can take your phone, developers can take someone's phone, and you can create these apps using this kit that Apple creates that gives you a very easy way to scan a floor plan of a room. And I think that's, will unlock some really cool, interesting AR and VR stuff in the future. It's a long way off, obviously. Well, maybe not that long. We'll see. But it's coming, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see where all of this technology goes. Now, those things aren't necessarily game related, but I think any technology that is around this new stuff and new direction for programmers to go, I think is a really cool potential for us, and to really build our skills and experience new things. So anyway, I wanted to keep this stream relatively short because it's the first time I've ever really sat down and streamed in front of everyone and done this kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this little half hour of coffee and coding. I know I didn't really drink any coffee. I had plenty beforehand, but I do have it right here. So I'll take a nice little sip when we're done. But that's the idea of this weekly, hopefully, stream. I'll try and do it again next Sunday. I'm thinking half hour to an hour. As I get better and more confident on camera, I'll probably grow the length of this stream, but that's the plan for now. So thank you guys so much for joining in, and thanks for the comments that I saw on the stream. Obviously, you'll be able to watch this on demand in the future as well on the channel. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.